Gluten. What is it? We've seen this thing pop up over the last few years. Many supermarkets have their free from aisles, free from wheat, dairy, gluten, eggs, all this sort of stuff. But what actually is gluten? Now, gluten is a mixture of two proteins which are found within things like wheat, rye, barley, oats and things like this. There's a slight difference between oat gluten and wheat gluten. Wheat gluten is usually the one people may react to. But is it a bad thing? Now, so many people have said, I cut bread out of my diet, I cut pasta out of my diet, and I lost weight. But what's happening here? So, some portion of the population are said to be gluten sensitive. Around like 60 to 65% are said to be gluten sensitive. Which means if you eat a lot of gluten, you may be a little sensitive to it. You may have a little bit of bloat, water retention, or feel a little bit lethargic, itchy scalp, things like this, bad skin, just things like this. Maybe, okay? Now, the people that are actually diagnosed as gluten intolerant, people with celiac disease, people like this only make up a very small portion of the population. You get tested via a blood test at the hospital. You have to eat gluten for say 30 days beforehand. You get tested, you get the results back, and it's actually a medical term to be a celiac. Something which I've been in the past. I was diagnosed as a celiac with the blood test. 3 years later, I was told I didn't have celiac disease. It can be fixed. Okay, it can be fixed with a lot of gut health protocols and working from the inside out. But let's get back to the big thing here. Bread being cut out is not bread is not a bad thing. Cutting it out, what actually happens? Most of the time when people cut things out of their diet, it creates a calorie deficit. So with that, people end up, their total calories get dropped. They don't replace it with essentially the same things. They may replace bread with potato, which is going to be lower calories for the volume maybe, these sorts of things. And they have a deficit here. So is it the bread which is causing the issue? Or is it the calorie deficit which is causing the drop? 99.9% of the time, the bread is not the problem at all. It's that you're eating too many calories. So cutting the bread out is going to drop your calorie intake, therefore creating a deficit, therefore making you drop weight or drop fat depending on your training and the rest of the diet. Is gluten a bad thing? Well, yeah, gluten is quite deadly purely because of the fact that it costs a hell of a lot of money to buy a free-from product when you don't even need it. If you want to be healthy, eating a balanced diet, you can include gluten provided you are not intolerant to it. You are not going to be any healthier by taking it out, I guarantee.